mother-daughter Disney podcast. My name's Amanda. I'm here with my lovely mother.
Hi, I'm Janette.
And we just got back from seeing the movie Elio. So this is coming out a week late for us just because I had confused when the movie was coming out. So my parents ended up being away for the weekend when Elio first came out. So we're seeing it on the second opening weekend of the movie. So super exciting. So first we'll go through some background of the movie itself, some of like the production things and like animation stuff about it. And then we'll also talk about the opening weekend as well. And then we were going to like the spoiler review with like the plot stuff and the plot summary and things like that. So let's start off. So Elio is directed by Madeline Sharafian, Domi Shi, and Adrian Molina. And the main voice actors for this movie as Elio is Jonas Kierbrob, Olga Solis, who is Elio's aunt, is Zoe Saldana, and Glorden, who is like the main friend, I would say, in the movie, is voiced by Remy Edgerly. And so in September of 2022, during the D23 Expo, Pixar Animation Studios announced a new original film titled Elio, with Adrian Molina set to direct and Mary Alice Drum set to produce. However, so what happened is that Molina would have been his full movie, the first time directing and producing a movie, but because he originally, like way back when in 2017, he was the co-director and co-writer for Coco, and so he was set to do this as well. So he helped write the film as well, and the film was conceived from Molina's own personal coming of age story, because when he was a child, he grew up on a military base, and kind of like similar in the movie as well, Elio was growing up on a military base, and he said that it wasn't until he was enrolled in the California Institute of the Arts is that when he finally felt like he found his people. Like he felt kind of like sort of similar to like what the movie's going to talk about as being isolation and grief and things like that, is how he felt, and that's where the inspiration of the story sort of came from. However, after a couple of years of working on the project, Molina realized that he didn't think he would be the one to finish the work on the project, and that's mainly because he left Elio to work on Coco 2, which makes sense since he did the first Coco, so a lot of people tend to do the sequel. So so he left to go do Coco 2. And so then in June 2024, Pixar's chief creative officer at the time revealed that the Turning Red director, Domi Shi, would then be coming to work on the film. So that's kind of where Domi Shi came in. And she was officially announced as the new director at a D23 fan event in August of 2024, alongside Madeline Sharafian again, who had worked on the storyboarding of the film originally. So then the screenplay was officially written by Julia Cho, Mark Hammer, Mike Jones, and Cho also again previously wrote Turning Red, and Jones had previously co-wrote Pixar's Soul and DeLuca. So a lot of the people who have written a lot of the previous Pixar films all kind of worked on Elio as well. And during production, they did a lot of research on the topic of loneliness. They talked to a lot of different psychologists about that, specifically about children's loneliness and grief. And Sharafian said that everyone's feeling it, and we are learning more about it as a crew. And we all started to realize, like, wait, maybe we are really lonely right now. And that's kind of like one of the main themes, I would say, within the overall movie. So the overall animation, the goal was to create a version of space unlike any other to put onto the screen. And I would definitely say so, because I think a lot of different depictions, especially of animated space, I would say this one's much more colorful, I would say.
Oh yeah. So the artwork was amazing.
Yeah, so one change that they really wanted was the visuals of translucent and luminescent qualities that kind of loosely define gravity throughout their depiction of what the aliens are going to look like and what the space itself is going to look like. And they also used VR and macro photography in water tanks in the process where they were kind of testing what some of the shots would look like. Now again, there is a lot more online about how they actually like kind of filmed the movie and like what inspired the animation. I will say I don't know a lot about animation, so a lot of it kind of went over my head, so I'm not going to go super in depth in it, but they tried out a lot of new animation styles for this film, which I think is apparent when you're watching it. But again, like for someone who knows nothing about animation, I couldn't really tell you anything about it. But
going, wow.
If you're into animation, I would definitely suggest looking into it because it's pretty cool. For the aliens themselves, the team researched microscopic plants and animals to capture that odd but like believable vibe. So Glorden, who is like the main friend, I would say, in the movie, he's also in the trailers as well. Glorden's design is particularly influenced by larval insects and microbiotic creatures like the tardigrade. So he kind of looks like a little worm, I would say, with little legs.
So I've seen things that look like him.
Yeah. The animator said the biggest challenge with the characters was finding a balance of cute and creepy, and also specifically for Glorden to make him expressive without eyes. So the animation supervisor, June Brownbill, said that Glorden's contrasting design and personality was a pivotal in making him work as an overall character, which I think they really nailed, honestly. So, and then another character whose name is Ooh is a liquid shape-shifting supercomputer, and this was also a particular challenge for the technical artist because her dynamic effects and the way that she moves in the overall world as well. But again, I thought Ooh also worked very well as well.
Cute.
All right, so let's get into some of not even necessarily controversy, but all the headlines everyone's seeing, right? Everyone's seeing the main headline you're seeing is that Elio was a big flop. There was a big box office flop because it didn't do well opening weekend. On its first weekend, it grossed $20.8 million, which to date is Pixar's lowest film for the opening box office weekend. Wow, it's very important to keep that in mind, that it's the opening box office weekend, because if you look at all the other opening box office weekends, actually Toy Story, the first Toy Story, was also one of the lowest opening box office weekends as well. So some of the people, like, you know, the people who look at movies, you know, they analyze movies, they see this is possibly due to the live action How to Train Your Dragon, and also Lilo and Stitch is still going really strong in theaters as well.
That's what I said. What it's up against is part of the problem, right?
However, the movie has received extremely high praise from critics and fans alike. So, for instance, on like IMDb, it has like a 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb, and it's 83% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty high, honestly.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, it's doing very well critic-wise. You know, it's not like it's like bombing. It's not like it's like a 30% or something like that.
Well, I think because people who actually see it and walk out of it don't walk out of it going, oh God, that was a waste of time.
Yeah, I think everyone who's seeing it does like it. So, for instance, in comparison, if we look at Elemental, which was Pixar's before Elio, Elemental was Pixar's previous lowest box office opening weekend, and it grossed $29.5 million in its first weekend. But ultimately, Elemental grossed in its first global theatrical run, so that first summer when it came out, it grossed $496 million.
Right.
So basically $500 million it grossed in its first theatrical global run. And this is what they call a sleeper hit, meaning that there wasn't a lot of marketing behind it and it didn't do well at first, but it actually ended up grossing way more money than people would have expected it to do. So a lot of the Pixar animators and everyone's saying it's like Elio could be the same way, where it could basically become a sleeper hit.
It's as long as the theaters keep it in there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. It's like, I think as long as the movie just stays in theaters for the summer and they don't put it on streaming too quickly, I think the movie will do quite well, honestly, in theaters. It's a really good movie overall, I would say. I do think Elio caters to a younger audience. So for instance, some of the other Pixar films, like for instance for Elemental, I actually think Elemental caters to a slightly older audience. So that could also contribute to why it did better.
Movie.
Yeah, because Elemental is basically a rom-com.
Right.
But Elemental was a rom-com, and Elio definitely caters to a slightly younger audience. So again, it's just like the differences in there, as well as just the cost of going to the movies. At the end of the day, it could be over $100 for you to bring your family of 4 or 5 to the movie theaters. Whereas if it's just going to go to Disney Plus and you're already paying for your Disney Plus subscription,
you just wait for it and watch
that's what I'm saying.
TV.
You might as well just wait and watch it at home. And again, a lot of movies did the same thing. Encanto was also considered a box office flop, but then as soon as it went to streaming, it became one of the biggest movies, that Disney had seen. The song basically, it's like everyone loved that song and everything too. So I think no matter what they all have to say basically is that the opening box office, grossing
doesn't
total,
really mean anything
it
anymore.
doesn't define the movie.
No,
it doesn't define like how much people are going to love it. It doesn't really define a lot. So either way though, that is just the little, I guess, analysis from us at least on this movie. So for a non-spoiler review, Mom, how would you talk about this movie? Would you recommend seeing this movie? What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, I said the same thing. This is not an adult movie. I mean, we went and saw it. I actually enjoyed it. It was cute. I thought the artwork, the animation was amazing. I think, like you said, the colors and how they did it and how they portrayed everything was just absolutely amazing. I sit there watching this saying to myself, who does this? The mind. I don't have the mind for art. That's just not me. The idea here is that when you look at it, the whole storyline, the whole feeling, it's touching, it's funny, it's crazy, it's excitement. I think it's great for the kids. I mean, if you got a kid and it's summertime and you want to take them to see a movie, take them to see that. I mean, I thought it was very entertaining as far as children are concerned. I would not tell an adult, go ahead and go see the movie.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree on that. Like, for instance, when I saw Elemental, I told like some of my friends, like, oh, you should see it because it's like a rom-com. Like, if you like romance movies, like that's the movie for you for sure. Whereas I agree where Elio is a bit more towards, like, I would say a children audience. But I think it's such a classic Pixar film in the sense that it blends like, the sci-fi-ness, like the fun element of like movies, like it's very colorful, but it also has like all those underlying stories of like loneliness and grief and like things that you actually deal with in real life. That I feel like a lot of people use movies to explain emotions to children, and it's like this is a really perfect depiction of that, honestly. Whereas like so we'll start getting to the plot soon, but I overall think it was a great movie. It's definitely a good kids movie for sure. And again, I think it'll do well in theaters. I guess we'll see at the end of the summer how it stays and everything. But even for adults, I would say if anyone's into animation or just like a colorful fun film, like this is it.
Well, if you're going to sit and watch it, that's fine. But like I said, I would not recommend an adult saying, oh, let's go see Elio tonight, or this weekend or whatever.
And I do think it's going to struggle a little bit because there are so many like A-list box office films coming out this summer, like the new Jurassic Park movies coming out, the new Superman movies coming out, the new, what's the other one? Fantastic Four is coming out, Gabby's Dollhouse movies coming out.
Yeah.
So again, there's a lot of
trailer a couple of times.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies movies like that are kid movies for
Right, there are
kids.
kid movies, and there are
then
movies
there's-
that parents could take their kids to.
Yeah, it's like parents could probably still take their kid to go see Superman,
Yes.
you know? So
Which has not been usual lately. Like lately, there's been movies that, you know, like there's times when you look and you go, there is nothing I
Yeah, I
want to
agree.
see. Even when it comes on streaming, you look at streaming and say, oh, it's Saturday night, let's see what's on there.
Yeah.
We go through the whole catalog and go, nope, nothing. And I
Yeah.
say, well, that's because even when it hit the movies, I didn't say, oh, let's go see it.
yes, I do think Elio's going to struggle in that sense where I think there's a lot of selection this summer. And I
Yes.
think if you're only bringing your kids and paying the $100 to take your kids
Right,
once
you're
to the
gonna pick and
movies,
choose something you wanna
you
see.
may pick one of the other films or like
I got to tell you, I would pick Elio over Superman anytime.
That's fine. I really want the Jurassic Park movie. I forget. It's like
Oh,
Jurassic
okay. Yeah, I don't
World
go see
Rebirth.
those
I don't
kind of
know.
movies,
But that's the one I'm the most excited for. So we're definitely going to go see that. And then, of course, we still have some more Disney movies coming out in the
Yes.
fall. So we'll, of course, go see that and do a whole review on
Right.
it. But the other movies we don't have to do. But all right, we're going to get into our spoiler review now. So we're going to go through the plot of the overall movie and kind of just talk about the different scenes and things that we liked and things that I don't think there's anything I disliked, honestly, in the movie.
No.
Yeah, so just things that we liked and just things that we analyzed just about the movie.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get into it. So the movie opens up first where you learn very quickly that Elio's parents had recently passed away. They kind of summarize it all up in like a 2-minute little thing where
Yeah,
they're
they
at
never
the
tell you
museum.
how they passed away. They just tell you they're gone.
Yeah, you just know that his parents had passed away. He's now living with his aunt Olga, and she is an Air Force major. And you kind of learn quickly too that she sort of stopped the astronaut career sort of and just decided to stay as an Air Force major in order to stay with Elio
him.
and
Yes.
raise him. And so they're at one of the space science and space museums, and Elio ends up wandering into an exhibit for the Voyager 1 spacecraft where he becomes just enamored with the idea of aliens and of space and like finding aliens and everything like that. And then years later, you see like the montage of Elio trying to be abducted by
yeah,
aliens.
keeps trying, right.
Which
Takes him a
I
while.
do think is really cute, actually. Like I thought that was kind of fun to see. It's like, especially when I feel like kids do get into things and then there's like, this is my thing, you know, this was his thing. But we also see too the struggles as well as like Olga trying to raise him, seeing that he doesn't really have any friends. He clearly doesn't fit in. And you also see the struggle too where like Elio thinks that his aunt doesn't really want him or that she, you know, when really she's
Which
just
is a classic.
yeah, it's like the classic story when it's like obviously she's just struggling in her own, you know,
She's trying to find her own way.
yeah,
at
her
the
own
same
way as
time.
well, while also
Right.
trying to raise a child that she
Right.
wasn't
Her life's
expecting
been
to raise.
upended. You know, it's like anything else. Her life's been upended, and you know.
And of course, too, like think and like it was, you find it's her brother was his father, and it's like also like dealing with your own grief that your brother died as
Yes.
well, which is very sad as well.
And because
so.
Elio's having his problems, he's a problem child, so that just makes it tougher. You know, it's
Yeah.
bad enough when it's your own kid who's a problem child, but now you've inherited
Yeah,
a
now
problem.
you're trying to figure it out.
Right.
So as any kid with an interest, he gets bullied, of course. So when he gets bullied, he ends up basically just it's almost like the excuse to get him into the Air Force base,
Right.
where he ends up then overhearing this conspiracy theorist Gunther Melmack, who claims he's found evidence of the aliens responding to that Voyager message they had sent back,
Right.
like when he saw it at the Air and Space Museum. And so Olga obviously dismisses this. Her job is to basically help ships pass like debris in space, which I thought was very interesting because I don't know anything about stuff like that.
Yep, that actually impressed me in the
Yeah.
fact that when you realize with all these things that go up in
Yeah,
the
there's,
air,
like,
we've
so
been
much
watching
debris
them
in
lately
the
going up.
space. Yeah,
you
and
don't
it's
think
like-
about what they have to deal with up there.
Yeah, to like
what's
navigate
floating
it.
around.
Yeah.
Yes.
So her job is basically to help spaceships navigate the debris so they don't hit it. So she sees it from like the satellite point of view and just gives them the coordinates to move around. So it was really interesting, actually.
Yeah, that
So
that
I like how
impressed me.
Yeah, I like
Yes.
how that tied in. But anyway, she's just like, aliens don't exist. Conspiracy theories, you can go home. But of course, he like prepped the satellites to send a message to the aliens. So immediately Elio like jumps out, sends the message, causing a powder outage. Olga, of course, is very upset of him. And then angered at Elio's actions, she decides to send him to a youth camp. But obviously, he doesn't want to go. And again, he feels he's being pushed out even more by his aunt. But really, she just is like, she's frazzled. You know, she just doesn't know what
trying
to
to
do.
find a way.
So she sends him to the camp. And then his first night, he's only been there for a day, guys.
Right.
It's so quick.
Well,
when
the
this
bullies that
happens.
got in trouble are there.
Yeah, the bullies come, of course, and they chase him out. And then when he's like being bullied, essentially, that's when the aliens come and they actually do abduct him, which is very exciting. Honestly, I feel like that's one of like the exciting scenes. That even like the imagery of him like just being shot up into space, it's like that's definitely like a scene, you know, for the ages. So as soon as he gets inside the spaceship, he meets Ooh. That's literally the character's name, even online. It just says Ooh. It's 5 O's if anyone's curious. five Oo's, and she is a liquid supercomputer, and she welcomes him to the Communiverse. And this is where aliens share knowledge from their worlds. And essentially in the Communiverse, like spaceship planet type thing, they're all ambassadors from like their original planet.
Planets.
And again, they're there to share knowledge, to learn more about each other, but it's a very like happy, very safe, like peaceful, pacifist type of area. And so when he gets there, they mistakenly think that he is the Earth's leader. Because that's kind of how he presented himself as the Earth's leader. And Elio's just like, sure, we'll go with that. Like Elio obviously realizes he's not Earth's leader, but he's like, but this is my dream, so I'm just gonna go with it. So right as Elio's kind of being inducted by all these characters, a lot of aliens, a lot of really fun aliens as well. There's one alien alien where, I kid you not, he's literally the whole movie, he's just holding this little cute drink in his hand.
Yes.
Like,
No,
it's like this little like space juice.
Drinking, yes.
It looks so cute. That space juice looks so good. It has like all these little curly straws in it. I'm like, Disney's going to have to put that in one of the parks one day because I would definitely love to have one of those little cups. So, but lots of different aliens. And again, they're all very nice, and except until they get to Lord Grygon, who is a warlord threatening to take over the Communiverse by force. He essentially wants to pair his weaponry with the knowledge and the technology that the Communiverse has. But of course, the Communiverse is like, that's not what we're about, is weapons. So we don't really want that. But he's like, well, then I'll just do it by force. So instead, then Elio volunteers himself to negotiate with Grygon, and this immediately starts to roll the plot, I would say, if you will. So Ooh creates a clone of Elio to take his place back on Earth, which I thought was really funny because at first I was like, I wonder how they're like, in my head, I guess I didn't think about, like, I thought he'd just be abducted and then he just wouldn't be on Earth. I'm like, oh, they actually
That's what I kept thinking. I kept saying, like, okay, wait till they miss him. Aren't they going to go up there looking for him? That's what I expected.
Or I thought maybe like, because time works differently in space, so maybe it would have been like time.
But see, we're
doesn't
adults
pass,
sitting there doing this, going, okay, isn't that going to miss him at the camp?
But they create a little clone of him, and the clone kind of has all his memories and stuff like that, and they send the clone back to Earth essentially. So Elio decides, he's like, all right, he needs to go negotiate with Grygon. There's a lot of little funny scenes in here when he's like trying to get to Grygon, and of course the negotiation, it goes okay. Actually, he does a pretty good job for like a kid, all things considered. But of course, then he by accident angers him by calling him a bad dad, and like Grygon's like, no, like I'm not a bad father, all this stuff, and so they imprison him, but he immediately is able to escape. Honestly, he's literally in that cell for like 2 seconds.
You realize it's funny when I watch that part. Okay, he has this thing that the computer gives him.
Oh yes, it's
a
like
little disc that goes on his thing that he can understand them.
Yeah, it's a little disc that it translates everyone's languages and also regulates your body temperature,
regulates body temperature,
gravity.
regulates your gravity, it regulates things. And it's funny how he's smart enough, even in whatever's going on, he understands how that works. And that's how he gets out, is that he realizes he has to stop his gravity. So he hits that thing. And then later on, something else happened and he hits it to do something. I said, see, he's an intelligent kid.
Yeah, he is smart.
Because he's not just like getting crazy and realizing that he doesn't have any power. He's using the power they gave him. So, to know all that while everything's happening, I'm like, kid's pretty smart.
Yeah, pretty intuitive, I would say.
Yes.
So Elio, by accident, ends up meeting Glorden, and they end up confiding each other, and we learn that Glorden is Grygon's son. So he's like this little worm creature, basically, with no eyes and big teeth. But he is so cute, honestly.
I know, he's adorable.
He's like this big, chubby worm with these tiny little arms. He's got multiple arms, but tiny little arms,
he's
basically.
A little sweetie. Yes.
But it's very cute, though. And he's very, he's very, like, naive, I would say what it is. That he's just, like, kind of, like, very happy-go-lucky overall. And so he ends up taking Glorden, and they're like, all right, we'll use you as, like, a bargaining chip. And Glorden's like, yay, like, I've always just been, like, annoying,
I love that part.
like, in
That's
the way.
That's actually the trailers, I think. Yeah, I've been in an enigma, I've been a problem, I've been this, I've been that, I've never been a bargaining chip.
So he takes Glorden back to the Communiverse, and then that's when, actually, there's one of my little favorite parts, is that he's taken back to him, and then Elio tells Glorden, like, this is what you're going to say to your father so that they'll stop attacking the Communiverse. So he kind of says the lines, but he holds one of the straws from those little drinks that the other little alien was holding against him to make it look like he has like a little knife. But because it's a drink straw, like the liquid is dripping, and Glorden's like licking the straw as this is happening.
They tickle him.
It's like, that's just so funny though.
I know.
But long story short, essentially, it does work, and Grygon is like, all right, I'm going to stop attacking, and I'm a man of my word, so I'm going to stop attacking as long as I get my son back unharmed. So then they end up coming down slowly. We have a whole montage scene of Elio and Glorden just like enjoying the Communiverse,
becoming best friends.
Yeah, like going around, like having all this fun, eating all this food, throwing up the food because they ate too much food and eating more food, which I thought was funny. And then they have their little heart to heart where Elio says, I realize like maybe I'm the problem and at home maybe it's not everyone else. Like I'm not sure. Then later on we get Glorden's heart to heart when he's just like, I don't really want to be a warmonger.
Right. Yeah. Doesn't want to get in the suit, right?
Like I don't want to do all this stuff, but it's just like this is what it is expected of me essentially. So then Grygon comes down and so then Elio realizes like, well, let's use the same thing. Like we sent my clone to Earth. We'll just make a clone of you. So they quickly make the clone of Glorden. They send Glorden over, and all of Glorden's like species live in these big suits, these big mecha suits where they like super tall. It's funny because when I first saw Grygon, all of the species in the Communiverse are kind of the same size as Elio, or as like a human. I would say like everyone's around the same size except for Grygon. So it's just
bigger.
like he's massive in comparison. And then you realize it's like, oh, it's because he's wearing this suit that just makes him bigger. Like if he's out of his suit, he's actually the same size as everybody else.
Right.
And I'm like, that actually makes sense because like size wise, it's like, oh yeah, that's kind of how it works then. Yeah, so they're all in these big mecha suits, and they decide they're gonna force kind of Glorden to go in his mecha suit before he's sort of ready to go in. Like he's still a bit young overall to go in. Yeah. So they put him in the suit, and like immediately Grygon knows like this isn't his son. Because like the Glorden, the clone Glorden is like, yeah, I can't wait to be a warmonger, and Grygon's just like, that's not my son. He's like instantly, this is not my son. I guess that's a good point too, that when Elio's clone went back to Earth, his aunt also immediately noticed.
She immediately noticed this is not him. Yes.
Yeah. Now, obviously,
because your kids, like when Grogan says, "I know my son."
Yeah.
Every parent knows their child.
Yeah, and Olga was the same way, where it's like, of course, she's never seen cloning technology, so she didn't jump to being cloned as quickly as Qui-Gon did. But instantly, she was like, something's not right with him, and she was trying to track. I mean, we'll get to that soon, but it's like eventually when she realizes that it is definitely not Elio, you realize in her room she's been tracking him for days. Like she had all these notes, all these photos, like tracking him exactly when she's saying something is not right with him. Like I need to figure it out, which also goes to show like how much she really does pay attention and love Elio too. That she's trying to help him, even though again it's like this the clone Elio.
As long as he was the perfect child.
Yeah, So anyway, so my notes real quick. So when Qui-Gon realizes that it's the fake Glorden, he's like, I'm gonna take the Communicorus by force. And one of the other aliens, she is like the power to read minds. So he's like, I'm gonna force you to read Elio's mind to find out where the real son, the real Glorden is. So she reads his mind, and then they realize he put him in like the little space shuttle that's like in one of the little, I don't know, he's in the little space shuttle essentially.
Right. The one that got him.
Yeah. So Glorden's in the little space shuttle, and when they go to get Glorden, he kind of panics and he ends up spending the space shuttle to Earth, which is because it's attached to Elio's DNA. So it's like, oh, we're gonna go back to your home planet, but for Elio, that's Earth. So Glorden actually ends up escaping sort of on his own in that sense. But when the alien had read, her name was Questa, when Questa had read Elio's mind, that's when she realized, like, actually Elio has been lying to us this whole time. He's not the leader of Earth. He's actually just a child, basically. And then they realized too, like, now the Communicorus is, being taken over and everything like that. And so it's like, he's kind of created all these problems. So they open a portal and they send Elio back to Earth. So he gets dropped off basically back at Earth, and he's like devastated. And that's when he sees his aunt with the clone Elio. And this is like right before this scene, his aunt Olga, this was so funny actually, because she kisses him on the head and she kind of gets a piece of his hair. She's like, let me go
out for DNA.
Yeah, she's like, let me go look at the DNA. And that's when we see the room with all the stuff that she's been tracking him. But the hair like jumps up and just like starts making its way back to clone Elio. And she's just following it. And it's like, can you imagine if you saw that? Like a little piece of hair
crawling across and going back to his head.
I know, right? And when she gets to Elio, so earlier in the movie, Elio, when he got into one of the fights with the bullies, he has to wear an eye patch over his eye because he hurt his eye. So she's looking at this clone Elio who's laying like perfectly still in bed, really creepily. And she goes to lift the eye patch, and when she lifts it, there's like no eye underneath.
Because when it cloned him, it didn't
the clone didn't understand like what it was. And the clone immediately wakes up, grabs her wrist. He's just like, let's talk. And it's like, that is so funny though. I was like, that is so scary. So now fast forward again, Elio sees now clone Elio and his aunt on the beach, and he kind of feels sad because it looks like they're having a really good time. But when he gets closer, we basically realize that Olga is actually trying to set up another little alien, like, come adopt me type thing to bring the real Elio back.
Right, she wants him to bring him home.
Yeah, and then realizing that real Elio is actually right there. So again, they kind of reconcile, and they have their whole little, their little heart-to-heart scene. But at the same, as this is happening, then of course, Glorden in the spaceship comes crashing down, and they're like, we got to get over
the
there.
Air Force jumps on that. Right.
Yeah, it's funny because then clone Elio, again, because I guess it's just clone material, he's just like, all right, guys, I'm just going to dissolve into nothing.
Yeah, okay, it's time for me to go.
Like, Jesus, this is creepy. But he ends up causing distractions so they can get back to Glorden on the spaceship. But Glorden's like species have to live, they live in like a lava type of planet, I guess, and so it has to be very hot. But Glorden's little, his like chest thing is no longer working though, because he had a rough landing on Earth, I guess is all we can say. So he's actually kind of freezing to death. So he's too cold. So they're like, we need to get you back to, the Communiverse and everyone else. So, so that you no longer hurt. So this is where we get the really cool scene again, when now we have Olga, Elio, and Glorden kind of in the spaceship. And that's when we have the whole like debris scene. So like the big, I would say like one of the big action scenes in the movie. So they're trying to pilot this spaceship through all the debris right outside of Earth so then they can jump to hyperspace to get back to the Communiverse. Like we get like little scenes where it's like they end up getting in touch with one of the other, like, so it was like a group of bullies, but one of the kids wasn't really a bully. He was kind of just a follower of the bully. So they get in touch with him. He's like, I'm really sorry, Elio. Like, we shouldn't have done that. It's like we overstepped. And Elio was like, it's fine. Like, it's okay.
I overstepped too.
Yeah. And so then they get in touch with the conspiracy theorist, who was the first person, who said it's like the aliens are out there. And he helps them trying to navigate. And then they lose touch with him because obviously they're in space. But then all these other people who track debris in space end up helping them basically through the field of all the debris. And again, I just thought that was so cool because it's like, I guess I just never thought that there's just like all that debris in space.
That's what I said. That was an eye opener.
Yeah, I just thought it was really interesting. Long story short, they get through all the debris and then they get back to the Communiverse. As soon as they get there, they release, Glorden kind of just rolls out. But again, he's like too cold. So he's like kind of freezing to death essentially. And they said before that it's like a shame for the worm species to come out of their big mecha suits.
Right.
But of course, Glorden's father immediately, Qui-Gon, he immediately rips out of his suit and he kind of spins Glorden up in like a little like web cocoon and he kind of like holds him close to him. And then Glorden's okay. He ends up waking up because he's warm again. So, and then Qui-Gon does apologize to his son and to the ambassadors. Elio is then welcomed back with open arms to the Communiverse and they offer him the ambassador little pin where he could stay at the Communiverse forever if he wanted to. But then he kind of turns around, he sees an ant, and he realizes like, actually, maybe he's like, I never actually gave Earth a try, so maybe I should try to do that first. So he tells them like, this is not a no, this is just like a not right now, or like a not yet, essentially. So they end up just basically then, you know, he kind of says goodbye to all his friends, and they sort of just they zap them back to Earth.
They go back home.
They go back to Earth. But it's kind of funny because all the other times they kind of used portals to get him to and from Earth, but this time the Communiverse comes like right next to Earth, so people on Earth can
Actually
see the
saw it,
Communiverse.
right.
So ever like the base, like other people on Earth, like all his friends, they all see the Communiverse right there, like in awe that this huge, beautiful, you know, very colorful planet is right there. And then yeah, that's technically the last scene of the official movie. It's just them coming
Right, and
back
it's
to
the
Earth.
overlay of when they first talk about, like, you know, that, I forget.
Oh,
how
yeah.
The voice that even when we went to space, where they
Yes.
have that voice that says, you know, it's always that question.
Yeah,
Are
is
we
there any-
alone?
Yeah, are we
Yeah.
alone? Is there anyone
Yeah.
out there or anything like that? Yeah, so it's kind of going through that again to say it's like what is actually out in space that we just don't know.
Which is
As of
everybody's
right now.
question. Are we alone?
Yeah, and then and the after credit scene, we just see Elio and Bryce, so one of the other humans he ends up becoming friends with. They're on the little ham radio, and they are able to contact Gordon on the radio. So I'm sure if
That's
they're-
in the credits. Once the credits
the
start.
after credit scene.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's when we see is like they are able to contact Gordon again, which is really
Right.
great because him and Gordon did become friends, and
Yeah.
also of course
He
setting
still
up to
has a lifeline to that
yes,
planet.
and
yes.
setting up too in case they ever want to do a second film or something. So yeah, but that is the overall plot of the movie. So again, overall I thought it was good. I feel like it was a really good contained plot as well. It didn't go too loosey goosey, you know.
No, yeah, it was pretty good. Like I said, it had everything in it. It had, like I said, as far as an adult's concerned, the animation amazed me when we were doing it. But it had everything. You're right. It had the touching. It had the comedy. It had the excitement. It had, you know, everything about it.
Yeah. So what do you think? What's your favorite scene of the movie?
My favorite scene, I think the end. I still say that end got me when they say, "Are we alone out there?" Like when he goes home with the aunt, you see that as soon as he turns around and looks at her, it dawns on him. You know, I can't stay here. I have to go home. That's my family. You know, that's the one that caught me the most. Was that he says, "No, I'm going home," and that's when that overlay also comes over when they're holding hands and he says, you know, that they start talking about space. I think it just brought the whole thing full circle.
It's like a full circle. So I definitely agree. I thought that was a great moment. I think one of my favorite scenes really was the montage scene with Elio and Gordon just in the Communiverse, just because I love seeing like
Having
the
fun.
options in space, like what can you do here in the Communiverse. And I feel like too, it also opens the sense like, well, this is just technically one spaceship or one like space planet sort of floating along. It's like, where do all the other planets look like? You
Right.
know, it's like, it'd be cool to see like what the rest of
Well,
space
if you're not alone,
would
that
look
means
like.
if there's one,
So-
there's more.
There's also a point too. So for instance, so one of the writers worked on Luca, of course. So in Luca, there was, what was the little girl's name? I'm blanking on her name now. Was it Gabriella or something like that? So when he's listening to the radio, one of the characters from Luca is on the radio indicating that Luca and Elio take place at the same time. So of course there's always the Pixar theory that all the movies live in the same universe, which I think is very
right.
believable. But Luca and Elio are at the same exact time though, which I think is also really interesting that this kid is going to space and like, you know, in Europe, like across the ocean, there's little sea creatures living
Right.
there, which is also kind of fun.
Right.
But I thought that was fun too, kind of just like to tie some of the movies in. So, and I didn't catch it when I was watching the film because I didn't know exactly where it was, but I was trying to listen to see if I could, and I didn't catch it though. So, but yeah, so who is your favorite character, do you think, of the movie?
Oh, Elio's my favorite character.
Elio?
Yeah, he's just too cute.
Again, I just love that character who's holding a little drink.
Oh yeah, she like
I just thought it was so
drink.
funny.
No, I liked Elio.
And when they initially they're scared of Grigon, they're like, we're going to abandon, we're going to take the Communiverse and go hide for a little bit. He like pours a drink in a little water bottle and like screws the little top. It's like, all right, guys,
Take
we're
it with
packing
me.
up. It's like, I just thought that was so
in
funny.
this little bag.
That's what I was saying is to have that. I was just like, that's just so funny, actually. So like one of the cutest
God.
things is just like, it's all right. It's like, because that's what we do too. Is like we take our little drinks with us.
That's
It's like,
right.
why wouldn't aliens also have little water bottles?
They were all,
with them?
it's all these little details. I'm telling you, it's so funny because now that I have to say that I look at movies differently now when we go see them because I'm looking at them with a different eye because we're going to talk about them, we're going to dissect them, we're going to give our. And as I watch them, it's so funny because you see all this stuff and you say, I just keep saying to myself, these people who write these movies, they're just amazing that they can pull in all these little details and they can do the artwork and they can pull in the details. And like a lot of the movies make references to other movies, so they like you just said, they connect them to other movies. They have references. They do this. They have these little Easter eggs. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, it floors me of the talent of some of the people that work on these movies.
No, for sure. And again, I do think, like Pixar, I think did a great job with this film.
Yes, they didn't cheap out on this. I mean, even the credits. I mean, during the credits, they have that one last scene, but even the credits, the artwork on the credits is even impressive.
No, definitely agree. But all right, yeah. So I feel like our official review is that we would recommend
take your
seeing
kid to go see
I
it.
thought it was great, honestly. I think if you're picking between some of like the kids' movies this summer, I think Elio definitely caters a little bit younger overall. But I still even think like an older kid, like 10 to 12, would still.
Well, I
enjoy
think
it
a kid
as
is a
well.
little older than the cat video in the Smurfs. You got like, that middle age like kind of thing where you're not like in
sure.
the middle school kind
Yeah, I
of.
agree. Like Gabby's Dollhouse is probably really young.
Oh
I would
God,
assume.
yeah, and the Smurfs too are very, very young. Although they do appeal to older because of the jokes they have and the things they do. But yes, the Gabby's house. I mean, we've seen that trailer twice, and I'm like, okay, that is really young.
Yeah, and I know
Yes.
Gabby's Dollhouse is like a thing. I know online.
That's
so
what I
it's
said. I
like-
think they must be
I don't.
selling
I don't
all
know
this
much.
stuff.
Yeah, I don't know much
Yeah.
about Gabby's. I don't have a kid,
I
so I
would
don't
think
know
they
much
probably
about
sell
Gabby's
the
Dollhouse. But I know
merchandise
it's a
for that.
thing. But yeah, but I feel like go Gabby's Dollhouse, the Smurfs movie, Elio, and then maybe Lilo and Stitch. So
Yeah.
it's like that's kind of the order. And then after you get out of that, that's when you're getting more to like the adult, like the live
movies,
action,
right.
How to Train Your Dragon, because again, live action is always a little bit more intense than the
Yes.
animated. Then you're getting to like the superhero movies, things like that. So, but overall, great movie for sure. But for now, we'll transition into some Disney news. So we do have some Disney news for today. So the first thing I think we should talk about is Test Track. So Test Track is opening up soon in Epcot, which is very exciting. A lot of people it's officially opening on July 22nd, but a lot of people have been able to do the previews for it. So there's been cast member previews, there's going to be DVC previews, annual pass holder previews, all the D23, all that stuff, or D33, all that stuff. Lots of people have been doing the previews. There's been they're still limited in what they can post online, like all like the influencers and stuff. But what they can post is basically the whole queue. So a lot of people have posted what the queue
Yeah, I
looks
saw
like. Kind of looks the same to me.
Looks the same,
But it's,
they
I would say
it's
they've added
moving
more
smooth.
Yeah, I would imagine so, because the queue technically is longer in a sense. Because remember before you'd have to wait to do the car, so like the queue is very stop and start because of the car stuff. But yeah, so and I feel like too they're focusing a lot also on like the environmental aspect of cars. So it's just like how how much trash and stuff like that is like what you're accumulating, carbon emissions, things like that.
Right.
But again, as for the ride itself, I haven't seen a lot yet of the ride itself. I've just seen little bits and pieces.
Are they
of what it
supposed to
looks
change
like.
that too, or?
Yeah, so the track itself is going to be the
Well,
same.
the only
It's just, like, the
teaser I
decor
saw
around
was that
it.
they had all those cars, and then they said you'll see them later. So I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, it's like when I was looking at it, because again, they were sort of combining the idea of Test Track with the idea of Wheels in Motion, which is way back when Test Track first opened. It was Wheels in Motion, which was kind of the history of transportation in a more general sense. So I have seen some clips where it's like you're going past like a garage with like bicycles and stuff like that. So I'm assuming it's going to take you through like, I don't know,
How
or at least
it
maybe you
progressed.
see like the different types of transportation
Right, okay.
and I guess maybe different options of transportation. So again, really looking forward to seeing it though, and I think it definitely will be fun. And I know too at the very end, also there's a part too in the queue you can see the cars going, whereas before you never used to be able to see the cars in the queue, like the actual ride itself. So now you actually can see the ride going in the queue, which will be interesting. But again too, I think after like when you get out of Test Track, there's a little play area, and then there's all that stuff, all the car stuff
that you can
essentially.
see.
I know they have a lot of new stuff in that area as well. So like the futuristic cars, like where
maybe that's what they
transportation is
meant.
heading,
Okay.
things like that. So I think that will be really interesting too. So again, really looking forward to seeing the new Test Track. Again, it's one of our favorite rides, so will just be fun. There's been new details as well for the new Monsters Inc. suspended coaster. So again, Muppet Vision 3D and the whole Muppets Land has officially closed, and now they've just essentially said exactly where this roller coaster is going to be. So there's like a map of where it's going to be. It's going to be exactly where everyone thought it was going to be. It's going to be like at the end of the little aisle. So that's where it's going to be. But it does look really cool, and there are a lot of renderings of what the ride is going to look like, which I think it's going to be really cool and really exciting. So also some refurbishment news. Spaceship Earth will be closing on August 25th with plans to reopen later this year for a small refurbishment. But then the big refurbishment is going to be Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. It's closing on August 4th to reopen in 2026. And this is where they are getting the new ride vehicles as well. So we're going to be able to take the little gun out, so you can, it's going to be on a
actually
string.
use it,
so you
right.
you can aim more, I would say too. And apparently Under the Sea Journey of the Little Mermaid's also getting a very quick refurbishment as well, which they've sort of been refurbishing that the last few weeks, I would say overall. Like they fixed a lot of the animatronics. So I wonder what this quick refurb is going to do for it. Maybe just some dusting or something. Not really sure. And then the last little news too is just that final parade that is coming into Disney World. So is the new nighttime parade. The Disney Starlight Dream the Night Away will debut in Magic Kingdom on July 20th. So there's been lots of renderings, a lot of like previews for the parade as well. And it looks really good, honestly.
I love the old
parade.
nighttime parade, so
Yeah.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, it looks really colorful and really fun. So I'm super excited to see what that parade is going to look like. Again, we probably won't see it anytime soon. But again, when we do see it, I think it'll be really cool, super fun, and we're all looking forward to that. So yeah, so that is just a little bit of Disney news there. So now we can do some Disney birthdays. Yes, we do have Disney birthdays. First up on July 1st is Indiana Jones' birthday. So happy birthday to Indiana Jones. And then on July 4th, we have two birthdays. It is Steve Rogers' birthday, who's Captain America, and also Nick Fury's birthday, also on July 4th. So they have the same birthday, which I always think is funny. So on Independence Day, of course, which is the 4th of July, July 4th too, on the 4th of July. But I would feel like most absolutely importantly, on July 2nd, it is my mom's cat's birthday. Her name is Savannah. And it is her golden birthday because she's turning 2 this year. So turning 2 on July 2nd. So
still acts like she's 6 months.
So she's just a little baby.
Yes, she's still a baby.
But happy birthday also to Savannah. And that brings us to our final segment of the podcast, which is our Disney memory. So do you have a Disney memory for today's podcast?
Disney memory? No, I don't have a specific one. It doesn't pop into my head for a Disney memory, especially because I always try to connect it to Elio, but I don't have a Disney memory that actually just really does
about
that.
Seeing the movies. Like when I was a kid, we used to see the movies all the time, even in theaters.
Yeah,
and
just going to see the movies and doing that.
And again, it's one of those things where it's like, it's just these days, it's just so expensive to go to the movie theaters. Like when I was a kid, how much did a ticket cost? It was like $7 or something.
God, not even. Yeah, sometimes you can get in for $4 or $5 if we went during the day and stuff. Like what the ticket cost this morning. We went to an early morning
what I'm saying.
movie.
For me and my mom, for 2 tickets, and my mom also gets a senior discount as well. So for 2 tickets for a 9:45 a.m. movie on a Saturday, it was still $28.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean.
For 2 people, which
and
is a lot.
And that was at 9:45 on a Saturday in the summer.
With one of us getting a discount.
There was like maybe 10 people in this movie theater.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's very expensive to go see the films now, because if that was a family of 4, we do spending
it was just a couple
$60.
of dollars. Yeah, if we went to a matinee or something, it could be $4 or $5.
Or if you go to like the nighttime show, you're spending almost like $30 for the ticket in itself. It's just like the price to go to the theaters is just so expensive.
Getting ridiculous.
Especially too if your child is too young to be able to sit for 2 hours to watch a film straight through. Because I know attention spans are always different.
And then like I said, then you
kids.
still got to buy condom. You got to go to the concession stand and get. I mean, the popcorn was $10.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a little bag of popcorn, $10.
Yeah, so it's like if you buy popcorn, if you buy soda for your kid or candy or anything like that, is again you're looking at over $100 to bring your whole family to the movies. So it's just
an expensive night out.
Yeah, it's just too much. And again, it's like when I was a kid, I remember being in Hillsborough cinemas and it was like $5 to $7 for a ticket.
Yeah, it was cheap. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And when you were, like I said, I do miss going to see the kids' movies because, like I said, this movie I would never have gone to see or even sat to see it if I wasn't going with you for this. So I miss going to see those movies. Like when you say memories of when we do these for the movies, that's the first thing that pops into my head. And my favorites were the Winnie the Pooh movies. I loved going to see Winnie the Pooh movies in the movie theater.
No, for sure. But yeah, so I think Elio will have a good chance if it just stays in
theaters. If it keeps it, yes. If they don't feel that there's not enough people going to see it and they pull it, then they won't make the money.
And again, too, I think maybe if there's enough word of mouth saying that the movie is good, because it is very good, I think maybe it'll do well. So I guess we'll see. Only time will tell, honestly. But in the meanwhile, let us know. Are you going to go see Elio? Have you already seen it? Are you going to wait till it comes on streaming because it's just too expensive? And again, understandable if it's just too expensive, honestly. We would love to know. So let us know on our Instagram, Almost Amanda X. It will be linked in the description below. And also make sure you give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. And also make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Again, make sure you're following us on social media. We would love to know what you think of Elio or if you're going to go see it. But until then,